Hi everybody, Colin here. Today's Python project isn't the one I was planning to do. This one's called Rocket Launch. The one I was planning to do seemed to have some problems when I tried that earlier on today. So this project is quite long, so I'm just going to rattle on through. If you need to pause the video, feel free to do so. Okay, let's get coding. So heading over to the Raspberry Pi projects page, and we're going to all new paths, introduction to Python. This target practice one was the one I did earlier on, and it didn't seem to behave itself. The rocket launch program is quite long, but I'll start that now. So in this project we're going to create an animation which is meant to demonstrate trying to get into orbit. You have to enter in here how much fuel you want in kilograms. They recommend putting in between 10,000 and 50,000. Well, I'm going to put 16,000 in there. And we've got a rocket on screen that's launching up to an orbit line, and it runs out of fuel, it doesn't make it. So that's what we are going to make. Setting the scene. So I'm going to open up the project template here. Then I'm going to remix, sign in, log in. There's an error in this code because it's a starter project. I need to remix it. Now I have a copy of that in my stuff. Just to prove I got it in my stuff, I'm just going to add in here by Colin. I'm going to press save. Then I'm going to look at my login stuff. This will be the last one I just did. And that's the one I've just created by Colin. I can rename it here if I want to, but I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so I'm going to go at quite a pace on this because second time I've done this, and it's a bit long. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up these screens. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do our Windows right arrow. Okay, set up my screens. We're ready to go. The code they've given me is has got some placeholders for putting code in. So the first thing to do is in set up global variables, I'm going to create a screen size of 400. So this is just a number we're going to add in here. Screen size equals 400. So we're assigning a value to a variable called screen size. Then we're going to use that variable in setting up the size of our screen within the setup block of code. In here we're going to go size, open close bracket, screen size, colon, comma, screen size. So all that does is that gives us an easy way to change the screen size by changing this number here, which is being passed into this bit of code down here. Our code has some images available to us. There's a moon, well, you can see them there. They're sitting there under a tab on the right hand side there. I'm going to come back to my main window. Oh, we need to decide which one we want to use. I'm going to use Orange Planet. So I'm just going to copy that line of text there back to my code. And we need to load the images as soon as we can. So I'm going to set them up within my setup function. So down here after size and screen size, we need to add in image underscore mode open close center, and that's an American spelling of center. Apologies for that. We need to create a variable called planet and make that global so everybody can see it. and then planet gets assigned that image. And all I did then was paste in orange planet.png within the speech marks there. Okay, we're now going to visit our define background, draw background function here. And we define draw background, close brackets, colon, background. So we're setting the background color here. Spell it properly, Colin. Background color. So we're setting the background color. We're just going to put 0 in there, and all that does, that sets all three of the RGB colors to 0, 0, 0, and making it black. And then we're going to add our image, which is the planet image, that variable we just created up down here. The size of that thing is going to be width divided by 2, comma, height, which are variables set by the environment. And we're going to make it 300 wide and 300 tall. Now, in order to make stuff appear, we've got to update our draw function down here. So we're going to add in here draw underscore background, open close bracket. Save that and run it. So we have our moon and our black background. Next thing to do is we're going to add a rocket, and there's a rocket in our images. So I'm just going to come down there, grab the file name, come back to main. In the setup function, we're going to add this under our planet. So I'm going to call this rocket equals load image. Paste the name in there. So that's the rocket loaded in with the initial setup. We're going to control the Y position, which is up and downwards part of the rocket, with a variable called rocket Y. So in our global variables at the top, rocket underscore Y equals screen size. So it starts at the bottom of the page. Then we need to draw our rocket, and that's going in the draw rocket function, which is an empty hole for. We're going to define draw rocket, and close brackets, colon, global rocket Y. That just makes sure that everything can see the Y position. Rocket underscore Y minus equals. That's just a simple way of writing equals 1, taking 1 away from rocket each time the screen refreshes. And it's a shorter way of saying, as it on the left hand side here, rocket equals rocket Y equals rocket Y minus 1. It's a shorthand way. And then image open close bracket rocket comma width divided by 2 rocket underscore Y 64 comma 64. So that sets the start position for the rocket and sets its side. It needs to be a comma. And the last thing we need to do now is to draw our rocket, is to call the draw rocket function. So down the bottom on the draw background, draw underscore rocket, open close bracket. And if I've been careful there, and this works, I should be able to press stop and run. Okay. So the error code is pointing to line 98 in P5. So there's a problem on this page here, which is one of the libraries we pulled in. It's actually not on, the problem's not on that page, it's on this page. I've spelt something wrong. Rocket is not defined, and I didn't follow this bit, the instructions up here at line 24 by declaring rocket as a global variable, so the program couldn't see it. Oh, racket needs to spell rocket. There we go, we've got a nice rocket running up the page now. Excellent. We're going to add some exhaust effects now. So we've got a tapered flame coming from the back of our rocket, and then we've got some smoke. And to do this, we're going to use a couple of for loops, and these all go inside the draw rocket function. And they go draw rocket, they go before the image part at the bottom. Right. No stroke. That's just to help with the effects. If you want to, you can just highlight that line out later on. For I in range, this is going to run 25 times. Fill 255, 255, 0. So that makes something yellow. And we're going to draw a circle, which is half the width, to rocket underscore y. And then we wear that 8 and 3. So that's 8 wide and 8 wide and 3 deep. Rocket y plus I. So whatever loop is going round, it's a way of making the y value get bigger. Run that code, and we should see our rocket has like a tube underneath it. We're now going to change it so the bottom part of the color starts changing, tapering out. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to make use of this variable I in line 21 and take that away from line 25. So this will gradually change the green color of our color by 1. And they've done a times 10 on there just to make it bigger. Okay. Stop and run that, and this time we should see our rocket's got so it's turning from yellow into a more red color. So that's the rocket flame changing color. Now we're going to add some exhaust flames to the back end of it. And first of all, we're going to change the color. Fill 200, 200, 200, 100. That makes a transparent grey color. And we're going to do for I in range. So this little loop, this little loop is going to run 20 times. You can change any of these numbers at any time to see what effect they have. Range 25, and let's draw an ellipse. Width divided by 2, comma, width divided by 2, plus a random integer minus 5 comma 5. That's just going to add some randomness to the way the smoke appears. To rocket y plus random integer, rocket y, oops, I wasn't in the window, rocket underscore y plus rand int 20, 50. That's a position, and then we're going to do 2 random sizes between 5 and 10. So that's the actual size of our ellipse. Rand int 5, 10, rand for one position 5, 10. Feel free to change those numbers to see what effect they have on the actual program. I'm going to stop and run. So then I've got some putt-putt smoke coming out the back end. Yeah, that looks good to me. I'm going to save that. On to the next page. Burning fuel. So this program works by us asking how much fuel you want to use. And we're going to do that by adding some code that makes a window appear at the bottom. So first of all, we're going to set up a global variable for the amount of fuel we want to burn for each round. So under the top there at line 18, I'm adding, no, not in there, I'm not. Up to the top to line 11 for me. Burn equals 100, so that just sets an initial value, or the value that the fuel would reduce. We're going to create another global variable but this one we're going to put in at the bottom of the program before the final run. So for me that's line 55, and this is a fuel equals int input how many kg of fuel do you require. The input statement there makes the words print on the bottom of the screen. The int will turn anything we enter into there into a number, because normally that would just be read in as text. Right, now rocket should only be allowed to move it's burned all its fuel. So add some code to the draw rocket function. Draw rocket function, getting bigger this one is. And so under line 15 I'm adding fuel and burn as global variables. I've got rocket is being reduced by 1, so that makes it goes up the page. Fuel plus equals burn. So this is the line that will take 100 away from fuel each go. Minus fuel plus and minus burn. And then print fuel left comma fuel. So that will print how much fuel we've got left in our little window down there. How many kilograms of fuel do you want? Oh, let's have. Okay, so from there I can see that I'm stop that. At the moment I'm just going, I've got minus fuel, so the code started off with 10,000 kilograms of fuel, and now I've got minus 37. So we're going to do something to stop the fuel going minus, because a rocket going minus fuel just won't go anywhere. Okay, so now in our draw rocket function, we're going to add an if statement, but we've got to indent all the other lines in our code apart from the image. So the image line stays where it is, and everything else needs to be highlighted. It's not everything else. Okay, so we're going to indent that lot. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to indent everything apart from the global and the image in that line. I'm just going to press the tab key and they all get moved in one tab space. I'll come back to the end of my global rocket fuel and burn line. I'm going to put a couple of lines in there. I'm going to add an if fuel is greater than or equal to burn, then it can move. So this is just checking, has it got fuel left? Let's test that. Bad input of line 18. Oh yeah, forgot the colon on the end there. Run that. So I'm going to put in 5,000. Okay, so my rocket only goes as far as it's got enough, as long as it's got fuel, and then my program stops. Next, we need to we're going to add like the orbit line for the satellite we're trying to get to, and the idea is that we just have to go to. So we're just going to add some code now to stop the rocket when it gets to the orbit line. So we're going to create a new variable called orbit radius. Goes up under burn at the top. Orbit radius equals 250. Orbit underscore y equals screen size minus orbit radius. In the draw background bit of code, draw background down here, we've got planet. We've got that much already up to the 300 line there, so we're going to add these 4 lines of code here. So this will turn off fill. So this sets the color of stroke to be white, so that's the line. This sets how heavy that line is going to be. Again, feel free to tinker with any of these variables. And we're going to draw an ellipse. Width, half the width, height, orbit, underscore radius, times 2. Times 2. I think that's a 2 on the end there, yep. Now can I say run our program again. How much fuel do you require? 500. Okay, so that we've drawn a line that our spaceship's trying to get to, so that's looking good. And what we're trying to do now is we're trying to make our rocket stop when it reaches the satellite orbit. So we're going to update our if fuel is greater than or equal to burn in here. And we're just going to add and rocket y is greater than orbit y. And rocket y is greater than orbit underscore y. Run our code again, enter 550,000. This is a long range one. Oh, see my error message there says Rocky Y. That means I've spelled rocket wrong, so just change that back there to rocket and run. 50,000. Okay, and my rocket stops when it reaches the orbit. We wanted to make our rocket turn red if it runs out of fuel before getting high enough to launch. So again, back in our draw rocket function, we've got a fill line here. Our code looks a little bit different to there, so I'm not sure if there's a problem. But on the bottom of this, we're going to add just about in here, if fuel is less than burn and rocket underscore y is greater than orbit underscore y. So in other words, we've got no more fuel and not in orbit. Colon. We're going to use something called tint. Oh, we're in the wrong place. Tint 255, 0, 0. Let's just test that. If I run out of fuel, so let's just make that 6,000. Okay, the rocket's gone red, but so has the moon, so we need to fix that now. Okay, so we've got to change yes, after we've drawn the rocket here in line 38 or there 39, change no underscore tint. I'll just test that again. 6,000. Okay, so just my rocket has been turned red. We're going to add some code now to change the tint to green if the rocket has enough fuel to reach the satellite. So on our if statement down here, we've got, I'm going to add an elif statement, elif, that means else if rocket underscore y is less than or equal to orbit underscore y. Oops, don't forget the colon on the end. Tint 0, 255, 0. Stop and run that. Let's put a big number in this time to reach the orbit line. Okay, so that's turned green and stopped. So we're going to make one last change to this code, and that is if it gets to the rocket, if it gets to the orbit line and it has more than enough fuel, we're going to make it turn a different color. So back in here on my if statement, oops, elif it's a bit clumsy, sorry about that. Fuel is greater than or equal to 1000, and rocket underscore y is less than or equal to orbit underscore y. Change the tint to a different color. I'm going to do something a bit different here because my color perception isn't particularly good. I'm going to use tint underscore 0, 0, 255. So now if I've got more than enough fuel to get past the line, I'm still going to stop, but hopefully I'm going to turn red, green, blue. Let's put in 40,000. It doesn't look blue to me, but red, green, blue. I've got something wrong with my colours there, I think. Or I'm not understanding what... Oh, I can see what I've done. Right, I forgot to put fuel in there. If fuel is greater than 1000 and rocket is... Right. No, I've got those the wrong way around, haven't I? Okay, so I've made a bit of a mess up there. Hopefully this puts it right now. Greater than, greater, less than. 1, 2, 3. Brilliant. So that's all there is to this project. There are a number of reflection questions which you can have a go at looking at. I will share my code with you. That's the description you're going to need, and add that to the instruction. You won't believe it, that was my third go at doing this project, and each go I'd had a few problems. Hopefully that last one works for you. Okay, see you in the next video.